you've seen page whatever.
Oh yeah, okay. Go to page
Article
40.
whatever. I know you can do
Okay,
it,
thank you very much everybody. Thank you for waiting, Mr. Wise. We move on then to item 5D, land at Church Street. Emily, please.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start, can I just check that everyone can hear me loud and clear? Great stuff. Okay, so this application is land at Church Street. It's for the development of the site to provide a terrace of 4 dwellings and 2 detached dwellings. Just a couple of updates for you. Following on from the agenda being circulated, a further consultation response was received from Southern Water. Their comments have not changed with respect to the proposal. And one further letter of objection was received. This raised no further issues. All the comments included have already been discussed as part of the application. So this is the site. It's an irregular area of land to the east of Clifton Road, to the north of the properties in Greville Road, and to the south are the properties in Speckled Wood. Within the site is an informally maintained single-track road that provides access to the rear of a number of the properties on Greville Road, as well as providing access to the woodland at Speckled Wood. The site is allocated within the Hastings local plan under policy CV04 with a suggested net capacity of 6 units, and reserved matters for the development of the site for 5 detached dwellings was approved at the Planning Committee in July last year. So as I previously said, the scheme is for a terrace of 4 2-storey dwellings and 2 detached dwellings. Just to get through some photos, this gives an illustrative image of what the proposal is. I've taken this directly from the applicant's design access statement. So as you can see, one of the units is on the corner of the site with Clifton Road. One further detached unit is further into the site, and then a terrace of 4 properties. There's also, as part of the proposal, they're looking to amend or alter the access from Church Street onto Clifton Road, widening it, so on and so forth. So, having assessed the proposal, it's actually recommended for refusal. The reasons for this, skip forward, is the proposed development, by virtue of the site layout, design, scale, and massing, would result in an overly dominant and incongruous development that is out of keeping with the established character of the area. The proposed development, by virtue of its height, massing and proximity to its boundaries, in having regard to variation in land levels, would result in a dominating form of development that would detrimentally affect the residential amenities of the properties in Speckled Wood to the rear. The proposal has actually failed to provide sufficient external amenity space for plots 2 to 5, and as such is contrary to policy DM3 of the Hastings Development Management Plan. Insufficient information has been submitted to enable the County Studs Authority to fully assess the development. The proposed mitigation in terms of the ecology report in relation to badgers is not considered sufficiently robust to ensure the functionality and continued usability of the badger tunnel for the lifetime of the consent. And insufficient soft landscaping is provided to balance the extent of hard landscaping as built for, and as such the proposal is recommended for refusal.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, Mr. Wise, would you like to come forward? Are you okay? You know how this works, Mr. Wise. You've got 5 minutes, the time is over there, and if you push the microphone, one of the silver buttons on the microphone when you start speaking, and push it again when you finish. Okay?
Well, I can't hardly hear what you're saying because these things don't work properly, but never mind, let's get on with it. Good evening, councillors,
Push the microphone.
ladies and gentlemen.
Push the microphone.
Oh, there. Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. 1. I find myself agreeing with the planning department's decision to refuse this planning application, as clearly shown in agenda item 5D, dated the 10th of October 2018. 2. Neither the applicant, council or HMLR have provided a formulated plan or evidence upon reasonable request in more than 40 days to substantiate ownership claims made in this application affected by lease area of land. Clearly on the letter HS/FA/18/00110EME, it is written, please note that in accordance with the Council's planning protocol, no documents for the committee will be accepted less than 3 working days before the meeting. Documents not previously submitted will not be allowed to be circulated at the meeting. 3. As no formulated evidence has therefore been presented in respect of this application and ownership of land, during the term of this serving of public consultation of planning has been expressed, then this application would not seem to meet the criteria of an application to be heard by a planning committee. Thank you very much.
Could somebody, thank you, Mr. Wise. Can you hear me now? Is that better? You can hear me now?
Sorry?
Okay, if you just remain in your seat for questions.
Yes?
Okay, members, do you have any questions? No? Okay, Mr. Wise, if you'd like to return to your seat, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
thank you. No, I
Thank
wasn't
you.
expecting any questions anyway,
Okay.
because it's such a disgraceful...
Okay, Mr. Wise.
Anyway.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hull. Is Mr. Hull here? If you'd like to come forward. You have 5 minutes to speak. The timer is on the side there. Give you some idea of how far you've gone. If you push the silver button, one of the silver buttons in front of you when you begin to speak, and push it again when you finish, okay?
Thank you. A number of points were raised in the committee report summary. One was about human rights. I just noted that in 2017 the United Nations said that housing was a human right, and here housing is critically needed. The local plan up to 2030 says that for the Clyde Vale and Orr 250 to 310 houses are needed. The allocated sites in the same plan provide 108. So we need to use each site as fully as possible. The character was questioned. This follows the grain of the local urban grain. It follows the contour, and it's on the footprint of the former terrace that was Church Street, which was demolished, I think, in the 1970s. It's an articulated form of L-shaped buildings, which gives some light and shade to the south. But critically, on the north side, there are a series of carports for every building, which allows light to come through, and there are large windows to give light onto the road on the north side. The planting, at the moment you saw in the pictures, there's grass and there's some bramble scrub. The planting will be replaced with 4 habitat types: woodland edge, 200 metres of native hedging, damp woodland floor type, which is in rain gardens and domestic gardens. The current ecology value of the actual vegetation is low. There is a badger problem, which I'll address later. The planted area of the street is 1/3 of the street area is planted. In fact, the street area is 888 metres squared. In terms of safety, this is a home zone. It's a very slow traffic area. It's a cul-de-sac and it's pedestrian friendly, or pedestrian first, I should say. The garden size was questioned. Each garden is more than 50 square metres, which is an accepted national standard The 10-metre standard, which is in the local plan, relates particularly to the 21-metre separation back to back on buildings. From the living room to the eaves of the building in Speckled Wood, there is just over 21 metres. In terms of drainage, the paved area has been minimised by efficient layout, and a third of the paved area is porous. Some of the paved area has been reduced by placing cars in carports underneath each of the dwellings, and that also means they can be retrofitted very easily for electric cars, which are going to come online in the near future. The rain gardens, which have been designed along the frontage of the terrace, give a 41% betterment on the existing attenuation of flows. Now, there is a question about how they work. In fact, rain gardens aren't just for infiltration into the ground, they are for slowing up the flow of water going into the drains, and Southern Water have not provided an objection on that, but they say that it needs to be conditioned. Badgers, there's a badger set at one end of the street, that's where there is a turning T. An armoured drained tunnel has been put in or suggested by Dr. Lincoln Garland, who is an eminent ecologist, but he said they're more likely to exit from the front, which is why that area has been left open. He thinks they will be more likely to go to the front and trot down the road. So he feels that they will be able to use that. They are also, he noted, using the south side of the wall through Speckled Wood. The Ministry of Housing, DCLG, in March of 2018, this year, has said that we have to make the most of brownfield land, we have to try and get a net environmental gain in whatever we do, and that's what we're trying to do on the scheme. In terms of the MPPF, it also talks about high quality buildings, and the architecture for this is high quality. There is consistency about the treatment of the buildings with large windows and airy rooms. Also, the thing about healthy places, this uses lifetime homes as a checklist for the features in the homes so that they have that quality. And in terms of creating an environment, the healthy cities idea, I was speaking just last week at the World Health Organization Healthy Cities Forum, and this was a critical thing in terms of upstreaming health, and in terms of trying to get places which are good to live in and easy to access local services. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. As you point out in your application, you say you enjoy the existing approval for 5 properties on the site. What did you say to your client when he came back to you and said, I want to squeeze another one on? Did you say, fine, yeah, let's see it, or let's have a go, or what was your reaction?
The client came to us to rethink the area because he didn't think he was making a proper place. The consent at the moment has 3 different types of houses sort of shoehorned onto the site. Originally they did try 6, but on the triangle site it was too tight, and so one was taken off. It has a great deal of paving on it, and it has very little planting as well. The houses don't adequately address the road, and one of the things here is that there is fly tipping on this area because it's not overlooked. So that's very important to have an overlooked space. That's one of the reasons that they said, can we have a look at it again? And also they wanted something a little bit more consistent. If you want to create a place, then you need to have some consistency of the view. So here, there is a short terrace, and there are 2 lodge houses at each end to frame a place. And the road is actually a home zone, so this is a 5 mile an hour speed limit type of thing. It is a pedestrian-friendly shared surface, which East Sussex County Council are happy with.
Okay, could you switch the microphone?
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Beaver, you indicated. Speak, no questions been asked. Okay, all right then. Well, thank you, Mr. Hull. Would you like to return to your seat? Okay, I'll hand back to the officer. Emily, please.
Excuse me, I put a request to speak in and it was acknowledged, so.
Okay, would you like to come forward then, Councillor?
before I start,
Just another point of clarity. On the public website, the map only shows 5 properties, and the report talks about the 6 that you have in front of you. So I just thought you needed to be aware of that. So that's what's available to the public.
Okay, we're just checking on that before you start, councillor.
It's just a note in case there's any confusion, that's all.
They're just going through the report now, just to check.
Yeah, sorry, it's wrong, and it should have 6 units on there.
Okay, thank you, councillor. Right, you know how it goes, and you won't be asked questions afterwards, so continue, councillor Charles.
Good evening, everybody. I welcome the refusal on this development. I think it's important that this site is developed because it's in the plan. The development is on an entry to the local woodland asset, Speckled Wood. Locals never ever wanted any development here. It was, however, a sacrifice that was made, and it was a small price to pay considering that we saved the rest of the woodland. Even though housing demand continues to increase, the woodland is saved. So that the community are pleased with. But what do we want in regards to this site, we have to ask ourselves? Well, something complementary, something that at least fits in well with Clifton Road and a woodland entry and protects the badgers. Although not an easy site to develop, and it has its challenges, there are many issues unresolved in this report, almost a big list. Enough of unadopted roads in Trestle Ward. We've got plenty of them. They don't make for good living. County will not adopt a highway if there is not a footway included. And I think a footway is particularly important when you consider the amount of dogs, bikes, families, etc. that will be using Speckled Wood and passing these properties on a road, maybe with no footpath. Double lines are not enforceable, no access, no maintenance, no lights. It's just a nightmare, and it's an entry into a woodland. So I'd like to see something better. I've not seen such a report from Highways in my 5 years as a Trestle councillor. Usually they have very little to say, and for them to express concerns flags this up as a development not well thought out, I'm afraid. It has some nice features, however bins with access problems, I don't want to be getting calls on that all the time when they can't get the bins out and they can't get the rubbish out. You've recognised that in the report, thank you for that. Carports are perceived as garages and will possibly be used for storage and not vehicles the way they are presented. And this is a potential problem because it will further congest the roads where there is already no capacity. Cycling is not considered properly in this development as far as I am concerned, and Peter Chowney. And this is something that we're very keen on in Trestle Ward. Problems are inherent in Trestle already. There is no turning arrangements for services, and this is a real concern. We don't need more problems in Trestle, we've already got enough. The types of paving that's been suggested here has been noted as not acceptable to highways. Heights and positioning is a real concern, noted as visibly overbearing in the report. Trestle has enough overbearing housing already from past design faults and never having no overall plan in history. We believe as elected members this is a total overdevelopment. 3 to 4 houses in our view of quality would suit this site and probably no more. Proper gardens please, yes please. Plot 6, it looks absolutely awful. There is no detail on the wall, it's horrible. Wouldn't the people who live there want windows looking out onto a beautiful woodland or onto trees? It just doesn't comply with the DM1 policy, does it? Let alone our badgers and the issues that they will face. Who will maintain this underground tunnel? If you think that residents are going to do this, you're having a joke. It's just not going to happen. It's not a pragmatic approach at all, and it's not sufficient mitigation. This development just won't function, so say our planners. And we totally agree in Trestle with what's been recommended here tonight in refusal. So how many planning applications will it take on this site, I wonder, to get the site developed in a complementary way with the challenges that it faces? We will support refusal today and we hope for a better, more sympathetic development in the future. Trestle is not an easy place to develop. It's already dense. We will fight locally for better development to what's an area where poor, substandard proposals are often common historically. We deserve better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Return to your seat. You don't get any questions, I'm afraid, at this time. I'll move back to the officer then. Your sum up, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just to address some of the points that have been raised, clearly we're not disputing that there is a need for housing across the borough. This is an allocated site, it's allocated for a reason. However, development should be appropriate for the site, and in this instance we don't feel that that is right. With regards to the landscaping, clearly this is a very sensitive site leading through to the woodland. And while the imagery looks very green and leafy, the terrace of properties are only 2 metres set back from the highway, and we don't feel that that is a sufficient distance to allow appropriate soft landscaping. Obviously, to shove the houses further back into the site would then detrimentally impact on the already relatively small gardens. So that is a clear issue that can't be addressed at this time. With regards to sustainable design, rain gardens, that's a great thing, and we welcome those approaches to development. However, insufficient information was provided to the county SUDS team and they weren't able to fully assess the proposal. With regards to the proposed Badger Tunnel, there is no reasonable way for us to condition that that is maintained. It doesn't meet the test. There's nothing to stop a resident going in, wanting to make alterations to their garden and getting rid of that. It's acknowledged that within the ecology report it says that the badgers may not use the tunnel, however no alternative proposal was put forward to secure a route along the back of those properties. And lastly, with regards to the shared surface, and I just wanted to pick up on an issue that the County Highways Authority brought forward. They say that they would have generally been supportive of such a layout, so a shared space, where appropriate. Advice from the Department of Transport has temporarily suspended and published a strategy document on the suitability of these shared spaces. The inclusive transport strategy is recommending that shared spaces are not taken forward at this time. I have recommend further to that, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody got any questions of the officer? No, we're moving to the debate. Councillor Beaver, you may. No, you don't. Anybody want to start debate? Councillor Davis. Councillor Bishop.
Just wanted to declare personal interest as a member of Walking Land Trust, just in the near vicinity, and for the record, my employer is the Environment Agency, but again, I've had no involvement with any of the applications made.
Okay, and that also includes the application prior.
All applications.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Bishop. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Whilst this development appears to offer many good qualities, as you begin to unpack it, there's work to be done. I think the issues, particularly around green corridors and badger runs, are absolutely critical and essential, and the relationship of this space to the large open space hasn't really been thought through. Whilst I hear the noble aspiration from the developer, we talked about light and space and healthy living. Here you have an excellent opportunity to really make this a space for healthy living, and I would suggest the application isn't quite there, and therefore I would move that we follow the direction as given by officers and we refuse this application.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a second? I'd like to second it. Councillor Tony, you wanted to second it?
Yes, I would. You go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to second that because I feel that looking at the plan here, it's an open intensification as well in a small street. So I'm not happy with it at all. So I'm happy that we second the motion of refusal. Councillor Tony, do you want to say anything?
Just very quickly, I concur with what both Councillor Davies and Councillor Charman much presentation before us said. With regard, just make one point, with regard to underground tunnels, badgers, on many occasions we've seen this take place on the estates and they've not been maintained and they've been damaged, the badges have been blocked in really, and so I just think it's rather presumptuous to assume that they will just follow the tunnel. They should be making other preparations to make sure that happens. That is not here. I do believe that we, as human beings, we should be considering what's happening with wildlife. They're protected anyway, but I think it's an extension of our humanity when we think about these things as well. And I also support the recommendation to refuse.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Beaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, just to say that I will also be supporting this. I mean, I was part of the planning committee when this was discussed last year, and it was a very rigorous debate at the time. It was passed for 5 dwellings, whether the residents agreed with that. It was passed for 5 dwellings, and it just concerns me that under the guise of Hastings needs more housing, that we have an application before us to add an extra house to the spot. The space has 5 already agreed on it. I mean, surely the best thing to do would be to get on and build the 5 that are there, rather than trying to come back and sort of stick another one in there and hope for the best on the basis that our Hastings need more housing. Therefore, we should allow it to happen. So it's got planning permission for 5 houses. Get on and build them.
Okay, thank you. Any other members? No, it has been proposed to refuse for the reasons stated in the report, and it has been seconded. So all those in favour of refusal, please show. That's unanimous.
They've dropped
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Did you want to leave now?
They've dropped themselves.